Happy Stash Week, everybody, on the Waiver Wire Show. We're going to be grabbing players, not necessarily for this week, but for the following week, the week after. Who has the most upside? Who's in the best position to actually win us a fantasy league in weeks 15, 16, 17? That's what we need to focus on right now. So off we go on the Waiver Wire at running back. This is where we start. We always start here. And I've seen a lot of underwhelming running backs being featured as targets on the waiver wire this week. This is just this is the deck that we're dealt as fantasy analysts. We don't have a lot here. I'm going Isaiah Davis, right? You can go Kyle Monangai. Someone else can go Brashard Smith. Here on the Waiver Wire Show, we are sticking to Isaiah Davis as the potential free square running back that you need to be rostering. In shallow leagues, he's available. He's in deep leagues available. Every type of league, Isaiah Davis is available, and he shouldn't be. Breece Hall was injured. I know that he said, or Aaron Glenn said, or somebody said, it's nothing. He's fine. He's going to play. And, you get this from coaches right after the game, and it makes no sense. An ankle injury in particular needs to be evaluated the next day and then the day after that to monitor the swelling, monitor the structural integrity of that joint. It doesn't make any sense that you would just come out and say, oh, yeah, he's going to be fine. He's not fine. I saw the pictures. I saw the play, right? His ankle turned and his foot was going in the other direction under the pile. He got rolled up on. That's not an injury you just come back from instantly. Now, it's possible that he's limited and he does work his way back, and then he's a game time decision, and he ends up playing because he's trying to do everything in his power to get traded. And he wants to look like a warrior, and he wants to make a good impression on his next team because he's also heading to free agency. His time to make money is exactly now. So if anyone is going to be pressured into playing, even though the Jets can't win a game, ironically, it could be Breece Hall. So I'm not saying he's definitely not playing. I'm saying of all the running backs, Isaiah Davis is behind someone who's not 100%. That we know for sure. We don't know the extent of the injury. So as opposed to picking up a player like Kyle Monangai, who's behind a healthy and productive running back in DeAndre Swift, Isaiah Davis has the upside of a potential Breece Hall injury, which we don't want to see, or Breece Hall traded, which we absolutely want to see. I'm so here for that. Oh, please. Move him anywhere. It would be amazing. And then that frees up Isaiah Davis. You could put just 1% in a shallow league, 0%. I think in a deep league, you can go as high as 5%, just in case there's someone else that might be clever, right? You got to gauge that. You should have a cleverness gauge in all your leagues. How clever is it? If you have a relatively clever league, then I would go 5% in FAAB bidding on Isaiah Davis, because this player has an all-purpose skill set, best comparable to Tyler Algier, and he can help win you a league. The player who's in the best position to score the most fantasy points in the second half, if things break his way, is... Do we have a drum roll? Could we do? We should do a drum roll here. We should drum roll. That player is Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue, another running back that I would pick up over a Kyle Monangai. Did Jaden Blue score as many fantasy points as Kyle Monangai? No. Did Isaiah Davis? No. Is that what we're doing every week? Picking up the guy that scored the most points the last week who happens to be on the waiver wire? No, that's not how we do it. Jaden Blue's fun. Jaden Blue runs a 4.44. Jaden Blue is a receiver playing running back, but he's also very young And he decided, hey, I'm coming out early and I'm ready for the NFL. You might disagree. And the NFL disagreed pretty much, not drafting him in the first 4 rounds. And then we heard the rumors that during training camp, Jaden Blue was criticized for being lazy, criticized for not knowing the plays. This is normal NFL rookie stuff. And a lot of NFL rookies, they start to break into the league and get acclimated and start to earn more touches right around week 7, week 8. And the Dallas Cowboys are guaranteed a shootout in every game. This is their satellite back now. Miles Sanders is on the IR. Javonte Williams has been incredibly productive. If you drafted a lot of Javonte Williams in best ball or in your seasonal leagues, congratulations. It was a great pick. He's the main primary back on what is a high-scoring offense. This is what you want. So if I'm going upside, I want Isaiah Davis, who is an all-purpose back, who could get like an 80% opportunity share if Breece Hall is put on IR or gets traded. Jaden Blue would never command that type of opportunity share, but in this offense, you could argue he's even more alluring as a waiver wire option, as opposed to just picking up the guy that scored a bunch of fantasy points last week, like Kyle Monaghan. Jaden Blue had 8 touches. So it's not like his usage is ticking up. It's ticking up slowly, but it's as long as Javonte Williams is there, no one's starting Jaden Blue, but no one. I mean, no one has as much contingent upside now as Jaden Blue. Though I will say the reason why I still have Isaiah Davis ranked higher is because Isaiah Davis is on a team that is playing for the future, and they just want to get a look at Isaiah Davis at some point, and they're going to give him all the touches. If Javonte Williams were to go down, it's not like they would give Jaden Blue all the touches. They would bring in another back. They would maybe trade for Breece Hall. Whoa! Imagine. So that's why, like, the contingent upside, it's not quite as good as it seems because he's a Dallas Cowboy, but I think they're about equivalent. Isaiah Davis and Jaden Blue. One's on the better offense. One's going to have a true all-purpose bell cow role if things break his way. Then that leads me to Brashard Smith, because I know Brashard Smith was also a guy that was more productive than Blue and Davis last week, week 7. He soaked up a bunch of garbage time carries, and then he was also 5 for 5 in the passing game. Most of those targets came in the first half. So it was the targets that I care about, not all those garbage time touches. Bottom line is, on the depth chart, he's still the number 3 back. He's coming in there as a satellite back, and a satellite back on the Chiefs is valuable. There were weeks where Jerick McKinnon posted well over 20 fantasy points not that long ago. So there's upside there for sure. It's just not quite the upside of a Jaden Blue, because he's in the same situation. He'll never be trusted with workhorse touches in Kansas City. That's not going to happen. And Hunt and Pacheco is a more of a hurdle in terms of two players who would have to get injured or get traded in order for Brashard Smith to really command the touches that would help you feel comfortable starting him week in, week out. Regardless, he's still a great option on the waiver wire. These are the top 3 options: Davis, Blue, and Smith. Now, Smith, you would have to bid the most on. So in a deep league, you'd have to go up to like 8% because he was so productive. You'd have to maybe go to 2% or 3% in a shallow league, depending on how clever your league mates are. And then you must, right, we're definitely at this point, we have the top 3 backs. These backs have the most contingent upside because that's what we care about this week. This is stash week. It's time for me to talk about Kyle Monaghan, right? It must be. Now is the time. Is there a better time to talk about Kyle Monaghan than right now? It's going to have to wait because we're talking about Devin Neal. Devin Neal, his path, you could argue, is just as smooth, just as easy to envision as Isaiah Davis. where now you have Kendre Miller carted off. This guy has explosiveness, and he was an all-purpose back in college at Kansas. 34.4% dominator rating. That's because he was a prolific runner, active in the passing game. He's not a guy you're going to start this week, but he's going to start to get 5 to 10 touches a week because Alvin Kamara has never been 80% opportunity share guy. Yeah, a week here, a week there he has been, but Devin Neal also has size. So I put him and Isaiah Davis in one class. Bad team with true bell cow opportunities in their range of outcome. And then on the other side, you have Jaden Blue and Brashard Smith. These are satellite backs on great offenses that will consistently earn touches every week, and that will go up as the weeks go along. It's just that we're talking about the instant upside of a Devin Neal, of an Isaiah Davis, very strong. And it's just, these aren't the offenses that we're trying to chase, but New Orleans offense, a little bit more competent than the Jets offense. Yeah, but Devin Neal, I think, would not command the full opportunity share as a rookie the way that Isaiah Davis would as a second-year player. That's really the difference. So if you're more likely to bid on a guy that has that workhorse in his range of outcomes, I stack Davis slightly ahead of Neal because Davis is a veteran and Neal is a rookie. But it's close. Just like it's close with Blue and Smith. Very close. But those are my guys. And then we can talk about our man Kyle Monangai. And the reason why I'm not ranking him number one in the list of pickups is because he is not explosive. This guy does not have big playability like we saw with Jahmyr Gibbs last night. Like, that's not something that Kyle Monangai could ever do. It's not possible, right? He's basically a David Montgomery without the pass-catching skills of David Montgomery. So he would be fine, but if DeAndre Swift picks up an injury, I'll say the name. I can't say. I want to say it. Roschon Johnson. Roschon Johnson would be involved with Kyle Monangai. So for that reason, the upside is not what the other four running backs are bringing to the table. But Kyle Monangai did score the most fantasy points last week. He did get a touchdown. So I'm supposed to just pencil him in as the first waiver wire claim that we should be recommending. Except that's not what we do. And the track record speaks for itself. And I promised you all that I would be checking the chat. And I did check the chat. And for the first time in 4 years, well, last year doesn't count because Theo hosted the Waiver Wire show last year. I didn't start the show with any air guitar. Wow. I totally forgot. I was so excited to talk about Isaiah Davis again. I was so excited to talk about Breece Hall's ankle turning the wrong direction that I didn't give you any air guitar to start the show, and that's a fail by me. I don't know what to do. I could put it in post in the podcast. I can do that. I'm thinking we can go. How about that? How about that to make up for it? God, feeling so guilty. I don't know what to do. We can't go back in time. We don't have a time machine. We can't go back and redo Waiver Wired. This show's been going great, except that I forgot the air guitar. So we're going to keep going. We're plowing ahead. But thank you. I'm not regretting checking the chat. Never regret the chat. Another guy to pick up based on a contingent upside is Dylan Sampson, because Jerome Ford could be traded. And again, this is why I would be very careful about projecting any of these backup running backs that are on competitive teams to take the lead back role for any length of time if there's an injury ahead of them because a Breece Hall is out there and a Jerome Ford is out there. If it's me and I'm an NFL GM and my team is competitive, but we have a weak running back depth chart, I've already traded for Jerome Ford. I want Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is one of the best value all-purpose backs in the league, and he should be sought after. He's not sought after enough. But Dylan Sampson, you got to stash him now. You got to stash him now because then he's going to be a satellite back with some standalone value on a team that has to throw to compete unless they're playing the Dolphins. And he also could be a primary back, right? He led the SEC in rushing yards last year in college, so he's a combination of some standalone value and some incredible contingent upside if things break his way. If Jerome Ford is traded, which I expect him to be. So that's another guy to get out ahead. We're just trying to get out ahead, especially with Davis, Blue, Smith, Devin Neal, and Dylan Sampson. Stash them now. Get out ahead. If anyone has dropped Trey Benson, he's due back, I think, week 10. Aaron Jones due back like week 8. I can't believe people are dropping Tyler Algier. I can't believe he's still available in league. I just don't understand how Tyler Algier is available in any league. If you find him available, pick him up. Tyrone Tracy came in and gave you instant production, and that's a guy to pick up if he's available. Blake Corum, Ollie Gordon, Brian Robinson, DJ Giddens. Those are some other stashes that are interesting me. Taj Brooks is interesting, but just... I guess Taj Brooks has become more interesting as Flacco has made that offense at least competent, right? The competence of the Bengals offense means that Taj Brooks is also stashable. Wide receiver. I got one guy I really like, and we'll talk about him after this. I know you're sad draft season is over, but just because the NFL season starts doesn't mean the drafting stops. Because Fast Draft has the Flex 6 Frenzy. You're drafting 6 guys for the Sunday slate against 9 other competitors. It's fast, it's furious, it's fun. And as with everything on Fast Draft, there are no salaries. Woo! So go to draftfaster.com, get the app, use your host promo code for a $50 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster. Question from the chat, what's the FAAB recommendation for Tyrod Taylor in Superflex? Well, if you subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/podfather, my Superflex stash of the week last week was, Tyrod Taylor. And who's our streamer of the week? Was it Jackson Dart? Again? So yeah, we can't be streaming Jackson Dart anymore. Aw, he's rostered. Big time. Jason, my physical therapist, has been starting Jackson Dart and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So he has both Jacksons with X's, right? And he's just destroying his league. So congratulations to Jason. Tyrod Taylor, I would say in a Superflex league, given that there's just not a lot of weaponry there's not going to be a lot of scoring. He's mobile but dusty. I would not overspend on Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor is also fragile. So I would say maybe 8%, 8 to 10% at the very most. If you're desperate, otherwise 4 to 5% on Tyrod Taylor. There's going to be other options. Quinn Ewers was throwing hospital balls. Almost got Jalen Waddle sent to the hospital, if anyone saw that game. And that means Zach Wilson will be called upon once again. We could see all these things coming. Don't worry. There'll be another Superflex option available next week. You don't need to panic and go out and get Tyrod Taylor, who is this incredible combination of a low ceiling and a low floor on the Jets. Just not that interested. I am interested in Troy Franklin. The Broncos play, the Broncos play the Cowboys. And yeah, it's just a thing. Like, there's such a rush to push waiver wire content out into the world that I just don't think a lot of analysts do all their research. They don't look at all the upcoming matchups. They don't really think deeply about a lot of these players, what their contingent upside is. So that's my biggest complaint with running back, is that it's some of these priority lists I see, I would flip them. I'm like, I would do everything in the inverse of your priority list. My priority list is very different. And with the wide receivers, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Xavier Legette was really efficient and productive last week, and Darnell Mooney should be rostered in a hell of a lot more leagues than 29%. Right? What? How? But Troy Franklin, just coming off a 10-target game, which equaled Cortland Sutton. The guy has explosive athleticism. What's not to like? Now he's going to go against the Cowboys? Like, this is it. You're starting him. So you're picking him up, if for no other reason than just to start him this week against Dallas. So he should be the number one priority. Oh, but he didn't score a touchdown last week. Right? That's almost always like what it comes down to. When I look at these priority lists for the waiver wire, who scored a touchdown last week? Well, Troy Franklin actually did. That's the thing. It's like, I had to check it. It was one of those things where I knew how many fantasy points he scored. He had 12 fantasy points. So typically a wide receiver who scores 12 fantasy points doesn't score a touchdown. So I was like, I don't think he scored. But I was like, did he score a touchdown? Because I was doing the math in my head. I was like, well, Cortland Sutton didn't score a touchdown. Marvin Mims, Ingram, they didn't score touchdowns. Maybe Franklin actually was that a touchdown? Did he score a touchdown? But yet, because he was only like 3 for 12, 3 for 10, he only put up like 12 fantasy points. So he's still under the radar. He's going up against the Cowboys, under the radar. He's playing with the great Bo Nix, under the radar. It's just like, how is it possible that this player is still under the radar? He is. He is under the radar. We talk about him every week. He even gets there with a touchdown in his most inefficient game. He is volatile, but he's not as volatile as Kayshon Boutte. He's not as volatile as Alec Pierce. Someone has to explain to me why Troy Franklin isn't like the clear number one wide receiver pickup of the week. Let me know in the chat if anyone can figure that one out. And if you've seen him featured somewhere, I would love to see who was featuring Troy Franklin as a pickup. Because to me, it's obvious. It's like there was no one else. But the beauty is, all you need to do is because he only scored 12 fantasy points, just put like whatever, 5% down in a deep league, 1% in a shallow league, and you'll get him. I would put a little bit more just because I really want him for this week, and I don't put it past my competitors to listen to this show or to think critically about who they're picking up on waiver wire, unlike so many fantasy analysts. So yeah, I got Franklin and then Mooney, because Mooney's just, he's a featured wide receiver in the Falcons offense, and every week Penix just gets more and more aroused. Right? He's playing well. I like Michael Penix a lot, and he's left-handed. I can't believe I'm 2 for 2 on my analysis of left-hand quarterbacks. I hated Tua because he was left-handed and undersized. I was like, you could be undersized, you can be left-handed, but you can't be both. And then with Penix, I ignored that he was left-handed altogether. I was like, I don't care. Phew. It was looking, there had a couple games there. I was a little bit nervous, but also Tez Johnson. Hey, can we get a little, right? If you streamed him, maybe some people did. Some people desperation streamed Tez Johnson, huh? It had nothing to do with Mike Evans' injury. It had everything to do with Tez Johnson's athletic ability. Took my breath away. What a game to watch. 80-yard run for Jahmyr Gibbs, pulling away from defenders that have an angle on him. Doesn't matter. And then Tez Johnson, what does he do this week? Oh, he hurdled a guy. It's like if there's anyone that's going to hurdle someone for a touchdown, it's going to be Tez Johnson. Now, I know he's tiny. And so I would be a little more bold. If Tez Johnson was 190 pounds, I don't think you all understand how much I would love him. He would be number one. If he was 190, that would be the only theoretical way in a hypothetical world. How do we get a receiver to displace Troy Franklin? It would have to be a 190-pound Tez Johnson, but Tez Johnson, though he's super explosive, super agile, a gymnast playing wide receiver, he's only 154 pounds. So there's some limited upside there, but he's my guy. You have to pick a guy. We had to pick a receiver on Tampa that you're going to go with. We're all in on Tez Johnson. So that's my top three at wide receiver: Franklin, Mooney, Johnson. Johnson again just takes 1%, if 0 to 1% in a shallow league to secure Tez Johnson. In a deep league, 3 to 5% you'll get him because no one knows. Oh well, I'm not sure what's going to happen. See, only then do we get to Xavier Legette Legette. Legally speaking, Tez Johnson has real long-term upside as the potential number 2 wide receiver option for numerous weeks in the second half, depending on Mike Evans and Chris Godwin's availability. And his quarterback is Baker Mayfield, and this offense is one of the better offenses in the NFC. The opposite is true in Carolina. It's one of the worst offenses in the NFC, and it's Bryce Young. The only thing that Bryce Young and Baker Mayfield have in common is they're both 5'11". So, and we saw a big increase in snaps and routes for Jalen Coker. And we also have Xavier Legette's entire body of work to look back on. So yes, he was very efficient, but that was very much an outlier, and we are not point chasing on Legette. We're not doing it. Someone else will inevitably be able to get him. You can put 2 or 3% down in a deep league. That's the most I would go, and then you're probably going to lose out on him, and that's okay. There's no difference between him and Kayshon Boutte. There's no difference between him and Alec Pierce. These are the 2-3 receivers for teams that have 3 to 4 wide receivers they throw to consistently, right? Kayshon Boutte, Alec Pierce, I couldn't distinguish between the two. Every week, I take a lot of pride. You can see it on Patreon. I am ranking these guys 1, 2, 3, 4, putting exact percentages that you need to be bidding on these players in tight end premium, in deep leagues, in shallow leagues. Here's the exact FAAB amount. And I take a lot of pride in making a decision. I couldn't do it this week. I tried. Kayshon Boutte and Alec Pierce, what the hell is the difference? What is the difference? These guys need to score a touchdown, and they don't get targeted. Well, I know Alec Pierce did. There's a game or two every year that these guys are going to get 8 to 10 targets. Typically, they're getting 5 targets, and the question is, can they score with one of those 5 targets? Because these teams spread the ball around, and they like to run it in with Ramondre Stevenson and Jonathan Taylor. So they're both super volatile, both TD dependent. What the hell's the difference? So those are my next tie for 5th in my rankings here. Now, I would have Jack Besh higher. I like Jack Besh. And I think Jack Besh is well regarded in Las Vegas. You can tell by the routes and the snaps. They're climbing every week, getting up over 80%. he's going to be the guy in the second half. Right? Just like the Jets are going to want to get a look at Isaiah Davis, the Raiders are going to want to get a look at Jack Bech in the second half. So you can get out ahead of it and get him stashed now. If this is a deep league, then you can stash him now for $1 because they have a bye. So it's not like there's no big hurry. Right? And it's not like this guy is like an impressive athlete. It wasn't like he was like super productive in college. There's not a lot about Jack Bech that's like screaming, I got to get this guy. Right? 56th percentile college dominator, average across the board. It's the reason why he's best comparable to Josh Palmer. But it's not like Jacoby Myers is offering more. It's not like Trey Tucker's offering more. They're not. Deontay Thornton might be offering more. He's the only one, but that he's not getting the snaps and routes like Jack Bech is. So I'm going Jack Bech. Bird in the hand, Jack Bech. And the beautiful thing is, if you weren't going to start him anyway, you can get him for $1 and just stash and wait. And then this team is going to have to throw because they're going to be in a lot of garbage time. So it's going to be Jack Bech in garbage time is going to be a thing people talk about at some point this year. So just write that down. If you need a desperation streaming option, Parker Washington is interesting because Brian Thomas picked up an injury. He was banged up and he's dropping the ball. And De'Ami Brown was also hurt. So you had two receivers hurt, and Parker Washington came in and commanded a bunch of targets anyway. Even when these players were actually on the field, Parker Washington's out there. So the targets are going to consolidate if for whatever reason Brian Thomas doesn't play or De'Ami Brown doesn't play. You have two receivers that are going to be monitored this week for their injury status. Either way, I think Parker Washington is a guy that you can consider streaming, assuming the Jacksonville Jaguars play this week. I mean, that's always something to check. I mean, are they playing this week? No, they're not. No, they're not. So I almost just blazed right through that as a potential streaming option. Not this week. Not this week. Damn it. I can't believe I did that. What a hypocrite. I was criticizing other analysts for not looking at the schedule, and then I mentioned Parker Washington, or was it Malik Washington? Oh, God damn it. I think it was supposed to be Malik Washington. The freaking Washingtons? There's two Washingtons that are the same profile, and they're basically in the same situation. God damn it. Malik Washington is a streamer this week, but Parker Washington is an interesting stash. For Christ. Fuck, what the? That was an anchor man. I just read what was on the page. There was a typo. Inverted. I just anchormaned and straight into the most blazing fantasy hypocrisy perhaps of my entire career. What a joke I am. I can't believe I did that. Just not good at this. I'm not good. I'm not good at doing a 45-minute solo podcast. Clearly, I'm terrible at it. My confidence is shaken. It's Malik Washington. It wasn't Parker Washington. Parker Washington, though, good stash. Deep league stash for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. Another stream this week. Tennessee. Now I'm checking. Now I have to check. God, I hope Tennessee's playing this week. I'm pretty sure there's actually a reasonable matchup for Chimere DK. I think Chimere DK. No one's gonna be the funny thing is, no one will be point chasing DK this week because it's Tennessee. He's the one guy you should be point chasing on because he's competing for targets with a rookie and an injured Calvin Ridley. If Calvin Ridley is out, you can absolutely stream DK this week. He is the clever under-the-radar stream of the week, especially if Ridley doesn't play. Even if Ridley does play, he's still interesting. I wouldn't play him with Ridley active, but he's interesting. I'm back. Bears are bringing to the table. I'm into Burden as an upside stash, even though I know it is weird that Olamide Zaccheaus continues to command all these snaps and run these routes. I don't love that, but I think that fixes itself if there is an injury. We don't want an injury to DJ Moore or Roma Dunze, but yeah. I get the number one pickup this week is a tight end. That's such a rare thing, right? Oronde Gadsden. We talk about Oronde Gadsden every week. And then he finally put up the 28 points. This is what we were hoping for. I mean, that's more than no one was hoping for that. It was more than anyone would have asked for from a rookie tight end, putting up 25 plus fantasy points. Hells to the yeah. Hell yeah. I love a rookie tight end. Man, he's not Brock Bowers, but the guy had a 25.9% dominator at Syracuse, and he's good at football. Right? He's good at football. It was pretty obvious watching him that he's now a featured option. I wasn't running out to play him because there's 3 good receivers there. But, I mean, how about Ladd McConkey? That's got to be heartbreaking. Everyone that played him, you played him in the frenzy, maybe you played him in the Super Slam even, as a run back with Jonathan Taylor. That was an incredible process. All of you that played Ladd McConkey in DFS last week, I just want to let you know what you did was the right move. 15 targets in a just a sexy shootout, and he doesn't get there. That's the receiver position. That's all you can say. Football. That's all that is. Great process, everybody. Stay with the process. What are you going to bid on Oronde Gadsden? Oh, my God. I mean, in deep leagues, I think you got to go 20%. I think even in deep leagues, there's such demand at tight end. I think you got to go all the way to 20%. Again, I would bid twice as much on Gadsden if he was available and I needed a tight end than I would ever bid on any receiver. Because tight end is absolutely worth a healthy bid if you need one, and one is breaking out with the right college profile on the right offense. Everything's lining up. When we talk about maximum upside, it's hard to get better than Oronde Gadsden the second. Not junior. Okay. I should tell my dad that. He's a junior. And I should say to him, why don't you change your name? I know it's a little late, but you could go to the second. It's pretty classy. Stay classy, San Diego. Colston Loveland, right? If he's somehow available in a tight end premium league, I'd go 20% in tight end premium. Cole Kmet picks up this injury. Colston Loveland's working his way back. Commands a bunch of targets last week. Even in deep leagues that aren't tight end premium, I'd go 5%. I'd bid more on Loveland than any receiver other than maybe Troy Franklin this week. If he's available and you need help at tight end, now is the time. Remember, Rob Gronkowski didn't produce at all until week 8, and then he started going absolutely berserk for New England in the second half of his rookie year. That's the way it is with a lot of these tight ends. It happened with Gadsden last week. That could be Colston Loveland this week. Again, 3 quality receivers in Chicago, 3 quality receivers in Los Angeles, and now they have these sexy rookie tight ends that are rising up and are seizing that number 1 spot in the depth chart and going to be commanding a lot more targets as the weeks go on. Colston Loveland on Player Profiler, best comparable to Trey McBride. You got to love it. You got to love it. And I'm already right about Tyler Warren being much better than Colston Loveland. That's forever going to be a correct answer from the offseason. So now that I can bank that correct take, and I don't think anyone had a bigger disparity between Warren up here and Loveland down here in Dynasty than we did. Shout out to our Dynasty rankings. By the way, all of our subscription offerings on playerprofiler.com have been reduced in price by 40%. and we'll be running a special on Halloween. So subscribe to all of our socials to be made aware of the flash sale that's coming, the Halloween flash sale at Player Profiler. But yeah, as of now, all the prices have been slashed as we look to wrap up the season. If you want rankings, data analysis, we're talking about like offensive line rankings, cornerback rankings, dynasty rankings, a Dynasty Deluxe package. There's so many great options on Player Profiler. If you're interested in premium content, and now it's at a heavily discounted price. You can check it out. If you like it, then you can renew for next year. It's great. Theo Johnson got the touchdown. I have Gadsden and Loveland ahead of Theo Johnson. Again, most people are prioritizing Theo Johnson. But Theo Johnson has himself a Dan Bellinger problem. And that's going to be that way all year, and it's still the Giants. I know it's Jackson Dart, and I know we're riding Jackson Dart here. But I want to see a couple more games before I'm running out to best case scenario, thinking, hey, this offense has the same kind of upside as Chicago and Los Angeles. So that's why I have Theo Johnson in that number 3 position in the priority list. But if you wanted to get him in free agency in a deep league, you're probably gonna have to go up to like 8%. And so that's just one of those guys that, because of the presence of Dan Bellinger, probably not a tight end at this point. If you had stashed him or picked him up in previous weeks, congratulations. But at this point, probably not going to get him. A guy like Noah Fant, though, he's benefiting from the Joe Flacco effect, and he would be a guy you could stream this week. Again, I have to check and make sure that Cincinnati is playing after we all know what happened with the Parker Washington debacle earlier in the show. But yeah, desperation stream this week. It's got to be Noah Fant. Noah Fant was clearly the featured tight end by Joe Flacco, and he's back. He was banged up earlier in the year. Now we have Noah Fant scored a touchdown. Dial it up, man. Dial it up. Deep leagues. You're desperate. There's a lot of bye weeks this week. You could do you could do a lot worse than Noah Fant. I'm picking him up in a bunch of leagues, and I may not even. It's going to be my option if I drop him or not. If he produces at all, I'm going to just hold on to him. Finally, quarterbacks. I mean, what are we talking about, right? Streaming quarterbacks at this point in the year, it's so difficult. Last week, it was so hard, right? Spencer Rattler was a consideration. He had 3 interceptions. I'm going back to Rattler this week. He's at home, and I think streaming Rattler makes some sense against the Buccaneers. They give up a lot of points to opposing wide receivers and quarterbacks. That's a game where the Saints could be playing from behind. Anytime you have a team playing from behind at home, that's the friendliest possible circumstances for a quarterback, especially one that is mistake prone like Spencer Rattler, but he's got big time fast playmakers on the outside. He's got a great screen game with Alvin Kamara. He's got a seam tight end in Juwan Johnson. So this would be the week to stream Rattler. Doesn't feel good, feels yucky, but we're doing it. And in Superflex, this sounds crazy. I actually think this guy's interesting, and I don't know why they decided to play Ewers. I think they just wanted to see what Ewers had to offer. I just don't think they realized what an absolute dud Quinn Ewers is, and my suspicion is that the locker room will revolt against Ewers, and that the quarterback in Miami for a number of weeks this year, for Superflex only. I mean, you would never pick this guy up if it's not Superflex, but Zach Wilson, come on down. Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you. allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.